books everywhere. Hello, I'm Ron Rutstein, and welcome back to Reading After Midnight, something I did yet again last night. Did you? Probably should. All right, so today we're going to be looking at 3 short novels from India. These would technically fall under the aspects of the short novel project. These are excellent for someone who's looking to read good literature but doesn't have the time to delve into Anna Karenina or the Brothers Karamazov. About a year or two ago, I ran across an article, and in the article, it was talking about literature from India and saying that we here in the West don't get anywhere near a full picture of the richness of the culture in India, that there are numerous languages and numerous authors working within those languages, and that we here see more typically expatriate Indians who write first and foremost in English, and that does not provide a full picture by any means of the richness that is India. And in it, the author suggested, I think, 15 titles. So I started looking for those, and it created an interest in me. And anyone knows that whenever I dive into a rabbit hole, I sometimes go very deeply. Some of those novels, I think 2 of them, I couldn't even find available anywhere. Some of the others were readily available, but it did lead me to look for other literature from India, and I kept coming up with things that were obviously available, but it kept saying unavailable in your region or country, things of that note. So if I got on Amazon in India, no one there would ship to the United States. I'm not sure why those restrictions are in place. In some cases, there are ways around them, and in some places there aren't. So I'll discuss with each book the difficulties that I had in getting them. Actually, only 2 of them did I have any real difficulty. I have these 3. And I'll provide a link to each of those 2. And with the first one, as I will explain, it's a little bit good luck. Dive into whatever library resources you can come up with if you decide you're interested in reading it. So I'm going to start with Samskara, A Rite for a Dead Man by U.R. Ananthamurthy. I apologize to anyone who actually speaks the languages of India, as I will probably trash some of your pronunciations. Feel free to mispronounce my name. Everybody does. This novel begins with a dead man who happens to be a Brahmin. One of the reasons that I read personally is to enrich my knowledge of different cultures. And this was something that was totally new for me. I knew nothing about Brahmin culture in India. This particular book is readily available, New York Review of Books. I'll put a link down below. Begins with a dead man, a Brahmin, and once he dies, they need to properly deal with the remains, with the body. And because he was not a proper Brahmin, I should say maybe a well-behaving Brahmin, nobody wanted to deal with him. He didn't have any close relatives, and the slightly more distant relatives didn't want any part of it. So they go to the local religious leader, Pranesa to get advice as to what to do, and they have all decided that they will follow whatever advice he gives. This is them going to him for said advice. We've anyway said whatever needs to be said. What's the use of raking up dead men's faults? Let Praneshacharya speak. He is a guru, for me as for you. regardless of what Garudakarya may say in his passion. Parnasakarya was weighing every word, knowing full well that the protection of the entire Brahmin Agrahara was now on his shoulders. He spoke haltingly. Garuda said, an oath stands between him and Naranapa. Yet the books of law have ways of absolving such oaths. You can perform a rite of absolution, give away a cow, milk a pilgrimage. But this is an expensive matter, and I've no right to ask anyone to spend his money. As for the question raised by Lakshmana and Dasa and others that Naranapa didn't behave as a well-born Brahmin, that he's a smear on the good name of the Agrahara, it's a deep question. I have no clear answer. For one thing, he may have rejected Brahmanhood, but Brahmanhood never left him. No one ever excommunicated him officially. He didn't die an outcast, so he remains a Brahmin in his death. Only another Brahmin has any right to touch his body. If we let someone else do it, we'll be sullying our Brahmanhood. Yet I hesitate. I can't tell you dogmatically, go ahead with the rite. I hesitate because you've all seen the way he lived. What shall we do? What do the law books really say? Is there any real absolution for such violation? This is just the beginning of the almost rabbinical machinations that the people close to Naranapa make to not to have anything to do with his body as far as the disposal and cremation should take place. Nobody wants to accept the responsibility. Nobody really wants any part of him. They all looked down upon him for the way he lived his life. Slowly but surely, things in town begin to deteriorate. It's a small town, and in the middle of it, there is a festering body that, as it gets older, begins to stink more and more. And unbeknownst to the townspeople early on, the body carries with it illness. And eventually, the illness will begin to creep among the people of the town. The creeping of the physical illness is a metaphor, gradual creeping in of non-religious values, people adhering more to their whims, to their desires, than any particular religious belief would have them hold to. And Naranapa, the dead man, threw this in the face of the villagers. The villagers are throwing this in the lap of Pranesha. As the story evolves and things take place, one of the characters is Chandri. Chandri, who lived with Naranapa, was much younger, and she wasn't a spouse to him, but she was as a spouse, but not with the title. She was there for sexual favors, and she was there to, I suppose, take care of his other needs. And faced with the dilemma of what is she going to do with her life now that her benefactor has died, she makes inroads of her own into Pranesha, and they become lovers. Pranesha, as a religious leader, recognizes his transgression, but realizes that this is now becoming who he is, and he is wondering if Naranapa's actions, beliefs are literally clinging on to him through Chandri. He has married an invalid in order to improve his karmic chances for a better life next time round, a superior life. But here he seems to be throwing that away, not only by cheating on his wife with Chandri, but meat seems to smell delicious to him. And he finds himself being drawn not only to women and meat, which are forbidden to him, but to a broader life outside of the Brahmin community. This is a passage where Pranesha is reflecting on the changes that have been wrought upon his life simply by a neighbor dying. This is after he has fled from the village because of his shame. He did not wish to face it or, for that matter, have his neighbors find out about his infidelities. Pranesh is trying to understand what has gone on and from where he was to where he is. Now I know. Praneshakarya rose to his feet and started walking. Yes, that's the root of it. My disappointment with Mahabala remained with me. Unawares, I have seen Mahabala in Naranapa. To make up for my defeat there, I tried to win a victory here over Naranapa, but I was defeated, fell flat on my face. Whatever it was, I fought all along. I turned it into myself. Why? Where? How did I lose? In this search, everything gets tangled up again. Look at it. One is twined with the other. From Mahabala to Naranapa, from Naranapa to my willfulness, the holy legends I recite, their effects, finally the way I lusted for belly's breasts myself. The form I'm getting now was being forged all along, obliquely, unknown to me. I doubt now if even the moment I united with Chandri came unbidden. It must have been the moment for everything within to come out of hiding. Like the rats leaping out of a storeroom. The Agrahara comes to mind again and revives the nausea. The Agrahara stands there, explicit form for what I'm facing within. An entire chapter on the verse that's me. The only thing clear to me is that I should run. Maybe go to where Chandri is. Become like Mahabala, like him. Find a clear-cut way for oneself. Escape the ambiguous Trishanku state. I must go away now, undetected, unseen by any familiar eye. In the very beginning of the book, Pranesha recognized that if he even talked to Chandri, he would have to go through the ritual act of purity because she was an impure woman. This is what's going through his mind as she's coming to tell him about Naranapa's death. He's gone long past that now. He's had an affair with her. He's moved past her into a world at large where it's no longer easy to be a Brahmin, where you set yourself up in an enclave where life can be arranged in a particular way. People, for example, that are vegans arrange their home and house so that everything around them and what they can eat is vegan. You're not going to open the refrigerator and find a hamburger waiting for them to eat. The Brahmin culture is like that. That whole culture is set up so that you can follow the path. You'll see this in any Orthodox religion. There's a Jewry, Islam, to strong Christian communities where the community reinforces the behaviors and morals of that particular society. And that makes it easier to live in that particular society. I won't give away any more because that would be telling too much. There will be a link below to this book, just for those that are definitely interested in the short book reads. This is 130 pages. So a lot of depth in a short novel, and definitely one that's very enjoyable. I found it very enjoyable.